I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we have Pastor Tony Pierce from Cornerstone Family Church to lead us in the invocation.
Mr. Mayor, Council, can I say thank you for the years that you've allowed me to serve in this community. This year I'll be retiring, which make some people happy, make some others sad. But anyway, thank you for allowing me to lead in prayer tonight. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your goodness. Thank you for the way that you love us. Thank you for the way you bless us. And Father, help us to see that, to recognize your hand in our lives. I thank you for those who lead our community. Pray your hand be upon them, that you'd guide their decisions. Father, pray for our community, that it would be a place where people would look to you and trust you. Again, thank you for your goodness. I thank you for your son, Jesus. And Father, in this month that we celebrate his resurrection, we thank you for the promise of eternal life. And I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Before we take roll call tonight, I have one quick announcement. We just concluded an executive session where we talked about communication and decorum. So I expect that decorum will carry on into our audience, and we have respect for each other. Town Clerk, would you please take roll call?
Mayor Fidel?
Present.
Vice Mayor Toth?
Present.
Councilmember Earl?
Present.
Councilmember Calavianakis?
Here.
Councilmember Watts?
Present.
Councilmember McMahon?
Here.
Councilmember Skillicorn?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Statement of participation, please.
Anyone wishing to address the council regarding items listed on the agenda or under the call to the public should fill out a request to comment card located in the back of the council chambers and hand it to the town clerk prior to consideration of that agenda item. Once the agenda item has started, late requests to speak cannot be accepted. When your name is called, please approach the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. It is the policy of the mayor and the council to not comment on items brought forth under a call to the public. However, staff can be directed to report back to the council at a future date or to schedule items raised for a future council agenda. It is also requested that applause be kept to a minimum to avoid disruption of the meeting, to maintain decorum and provide for an equal and uninterrupted presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our reports by Mayor, Council Member, and Town Manager. Rachel Goodwin.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I just have a couple of quick recognitions I wanted to share. I know a number of us participated in the volunteer reception last week. I'd like to give a big thank you to Kim and her staff that put that event on. It's a wonderful time that we pause and thank all of our hundreds and hundreds of volunteers that join us every year and make such a difference in our community. A special recognition, our Volunteer of the Year was Paul Appledorn. He was able to join us and be recognized, so it was a great evening. Upcoming this Saturday is the annual Music Fest. It looks like weather is going to be fantastic. So it is a 4 to 9:30 and is music through the different decades. So we look forward to seeing everybody out there. There's something for everyone, as they say. And then we won't be meeting again before the upcoming extravaganza. There are Egg Hunt, which is scheduled for April 12th over at Four Peaks Park. Event starts at 8, the hunt starts at 9. If you're planning to go, don't be late, because the moment they say go, 15,000 eggs are gone in a heartbeat. But it's a great event, and we always welcome a big crowd, so looking forward to that. Mayor, that's what I have for my update. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman? Yes.
Excuse me. There was a lot of events the last 2 weeks, but in lieu of me talking about what I've gone to this, because I'm sure everybody else will be talking about it, I want to reaffirm my commitment to the reasons I ran for town council: to serve with integrity, transparency, and dedication to our community's best interests. That commitment has not wavered. I remain focused on accountability, responsible spending, and ensuring every decision benefits our residents. While disagreements are inevitable and recent council discussions have been challenging, I believe in moving forward with respect, forgiveness, and grace. Public service is a responsibility I take seriously. I will continue to ask tough questions, advocate for transparency, and approach my work with an open mind, a willingness to listen, and a commitment to understanding different perspectives. Above all, I will lead with honesty and stay true to my word. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Kalivianakis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate that. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Always like to greet our live audience and our audience on Cox Channel 11, YouTube, and live streaming. That's the key to good governance, is having the public that looks and is engaged in their local affairs, and we have that in spades. I'll make an abbreviated report tonight, but I did attend the volunteer reception. I am myself a volunteer for the home delivered meals, and it was spectacular. Like the mayor has pointed out on numerous occasions, Fountain Hills is just blessed to have such a great volunteer community. And so it was good to see those people get recognition, but also just recognition to everybody that volunteers, all 1,000 or whatever, is what I'd like to say tonight. I just did get a memo in the mail that said we need more home delivered meals volunteers. So if anybody is out there would like to participate in that program, please call Kim Wicklund at the community center. I attended the Look Up event. Will Graham gave a message of hope. There was Christian bands, worship. It was just a wonderful event. Fountain Hills was so blessed to have that here. And so I had to acknowledge that. It was just a beautiful night. Lastly, on the 29th, it was National Vietnam War Veterans Day. We served the legacy of those who served. We always serve the legacy of all veterans. But on that day, we congratulate our brave Vietnam veterans who came back not to parades, but to scorn. The VA estimates that 22 veterans commit suicide each day. This means approximately 8,000 veterans kill themselves each year. If you're in crisis or you know somebody in crisis, please contact 844-317-1136 immediately. This is an emergency line. If it's a crisis, call 911. But we have to take care of our veterans, and a lot of them are in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended my first GPAC meeting, found it interesting, and there was probably 30 or 40 people there. It was the introduction to the board of directors, and some of the initiatives and how they're promoting business in the community is pretty interesting, and hopefully getting more involved in that. Dark Sky Festival, attended that, and I found that fascinating. Not only because of the dark sky and the observatory, but also because of all the naturalists that were there, all of the outdoor stuff and animal life and so on. And I attended 2 of the Arizona League of Cities. One I found interesting, the other one I found boring because after 15 minutes it had been canceled. So I sat there quietly. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Skillicorn.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman McMahon.
Thank you. Just want to say the volunteer reception was pretty awesome. And thank you, Kim, for putting that together and the staff. You know, it's nice to be able to take some time, recognize our volunteers, because we have hundreds of them in town, and we wouldn't be as successful in our community and helping one another out without the volunteers. So thank you to all of you people in our community who volunteers. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Toth.
And I'll echo that as well. The volunteer reception was absolutely beautiful, and I apologize, I don't have much of a voice today, so bear with me, everybody. The reception was beautiful. We have such wonderful people and giving people in this town, and it was really cool to see them all in the same room.
And like the others, I also attended the Flutter event that was going on as the same time as the Will Graham Lookup event, and that was spectacular as well. I did make it to both events, so I kind of cut myself in half and did half and half. I also attended the Dark Sky Festival, which was the largest Dark Sky Festival in the world. So now we're known for our Dark Sky Festival as well. Very well attended. I mean, thousands of people, hundreds of people were there. The volunteer reception has been mentioned. Thanks again to the staff who put that on and all the volunteers. That was a very nice evening as well. I also attended the MAG mayor's meeting where we appropriated, or we gave direction to spend $150 million on arterial road work. Arterial road work would include things like Shea Boulevard, which we're going to be working on. I know that's been on our schedule for quite a while. So they're going to spend more money to widen and further maintain those arterial roads in the county. I attended the State of the Schools put on by the Chamber. That was an interesting event and well attended as well. And then we had our council workshop and CIP, capital improvements project list that we went over as well. With that, I know, Rachel, you mentioned the Music Fest is coming up. That'll be a blast, and like you said, there's going to be all kinds of genre there, so it'll be attractive for everybody. So make sure you get out and enjoy that. It's really well attended and really well done too. So thanks for the staff's participation in that as well too. So that's all I have on that report. So now we'll move on to proclamation, and I'm going to turn this over to the Vice Mayor, who is going to do our proclamation tonight.
And I know I just said I don't have a voice, but this is something that's really special to me. So CASA is a program that allows a court advocate to be provided to a child, usually in probably the most stressful times of their lives, where their living situation or something to that effect is being decided. So, whereas Arizona's children are among our state's most precious resources, their health, safety, and well-being are fundamental to the state, sharing the same basic needs, desires, hopes, and dreams of every child. And whereas each year, thousands of Arizona children enter the child welfare system due to abuse or neglect, experiencing uncertainty, instability, and a lack of consistent support during a challenging time in their young lives. And whereas a court-appointed special advocate is a trained volunteer appointed by a judge to advocate for the best interests of children living in foster care, ensuring their voices are heard and their needs are met in court proceedings, placement decisions, and other critical areas. And whereas CASA volunteers provide an invaluable service, build trusted relationships with their appointed youth, advocate for stability, promote positive outcomes, and help the child hold on to their own dreams and thrive. And whereas in Arizona, CASA volunteers work diligently in partnership with judges, attorneys, social workers, and community partners to ensure these children have support, resources, and opportunities now and in the future. And whereas the work of CASA volunteers has a profound and lasting impact on the lives of vulnerable children, providing them with a consistent, compassionate presence to help restore a more hopeful future. And whereas CASA Volunteer Week provides an opportunity to recognize and honor the dedication of CASA volunteers, raise awareness about the urgent need for more individuals to step forward and make a difference in the lives of children in foster care. Now, therefore, I, Jerry Friedel, Mayor, along with the Town Council of Fountain Hills, do hereby proclaim April 5th through 11th, 2025 as CASA Volunteer Week. And I encourage all residents of Fountain Hills to learn more about the CASA Volunteer Program, applaud the extraordinary contributions of CASA volunteers, and consider becoming CASA volunteers themselves. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause to be affixed the official seal of the Town of Fountain Hills.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the call to the public. Town Clerk, are there any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor, we have 4 cards. We'll start with Melissa Weedu, and then followed by Beth Culp.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Melissa Weedu. I've been a resident of Fountain Hills for 25 years. At the March 18th, 2025 Town Council meeting, the town held their first ever recognition of a veteran. Mayor Friedel started this new initiative by recognizing veterans. The room was filled and everybody stood but one council member that is always disrespectful decided to sit this one out. Just so disgusting and disappointing. We expect better from our elected representatives. This is not political, it is respectful. A man who could hardly walk stood up and walked with help to receive his plaque because he realized how this ceremony should be respected. Do we want people like this to represent this town? I say no, but we have to put up with this council member for another 3.5 years. This is not the first time that this council member disrespected the residents of Fountain Hills. When people show you who they are, believe them. Thank you.
Jerry? I'd like to respond.
The next speaker will be Ed Stiza.
It's a personal attack on me.
You first.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. Well, that was good timing, I guess, or bad, whatever, whoever you're sitting with. Before I get started, I would just like to point out that this is not the first time that we have had council members attacked during the call to the public. And I very clearly have read in the rules of procedure that that will not be allowed. And in the past, when personal attacks have been made on council member, the gavel has gone down. And I would ask respectfully that that happen again in the future. It isn't right to let that happen. Having said that, I anticipated that Councilmember McMahon might be attacked today based on an unfounded statement that she failed to stand when Mr. Kodanik was honored. That is not true. It is not true. And I don't know if the camera will be able to pick it up, but here is a photograph for the audience to see as well of Councilmember Kodanik being honored and Councilmember McMahon standing. It is not appropriate for attacks to be leveled on false information, particularly where members of the council join in those attacks and say that they were humiliated, embarrassed, ashamed, when in fact, Councilmember McMahon did stand. She later explained that she had pain and had been advised by her physician when she experienced pain to be seated. There is no requirement, I checked it out, in terms of military protocol or courtesies or in common regular etiquette that requires people to remain standing the entire time that someone is being honored or while they are speaking. No disrespect was intended, and only someone who is prepared and desirous of leveling personal attacks against Councilmember McMahon would have perceived it that way. That's all I have to say. Thank you. And if anybody wants to look at the picture, I'm going to leave it on the back on the way out.
Next speaker, please.
Ed Stiza, followed by the last speaker, who is Crystal Kavanaugh.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Town Council, Vice Mayor, and staff, and all the residents and businesses of Fountain Hills. I haven't spoken quite some time, and I've probably got about 20 things to go over as far as different items that are happening in Fountain Hills. So one of them we just heard, and I just, boy, oh boy, I hope in your executive session that you guys found a way to come together. I mean, it's got to end. As much as the public and people of the past want to continue to say that the negativity is coming from a group called ROT and Reclaim Our Town, and all the negativity is coming from the majority of people up there. It seems that the bad, how can I say, I don't want to say bad people, but certainly the bad comments and negative comments are continuing to just kind of demean Fountain Hills and just all around. And I think it needs to stop. And for somebody to have to get up and actually, you know, as far as defend Peggy McMahon on this, I mean, it just goes to show you where we've all went. And it's really sad to see you guys. I've watched everything from afar, every moment, every meeting, and it just doesn't set well. And hopefully you guys are all gonna come together. It's time. I mean, it's really time. So, and to be stating out political parties and while you're up there, it's not for the benefit of the people and the residents here, nor the businesses. So I would hope that the public starts to back down on this also. The stuff I read in the Fountain Hills Times is disgusting, and we know who all those people are. So I'd like to say a couple things about, I watched the CIP meeting or workshop the other night from Tuesday, and there were a couple things that happened, and one of those was actually regarding what's going to be our second shade structure, almost identical, that seems to be already ordered before it was green lighted by this town council. And that goes in the median right in on the Avenue of the Fountains. I really strongly suggest that you guys take a second look at this. I know Kevin Snipes said that he already ordered it at whatever, a couple $100 grand, but I hope everybody takes a look at actually what's going on if this were to be installed. And you're gonna break up the Avenue of the, wow, was it 3 minutes already? Oh my God. I am so sorry, so I'll write to everybody. Wow, that went quick.
Good evening, Crystal Kavanaugh. So I reviewed the March 25th work session, and I found the Operation Clean Sweep discussion, wiping out all current and pending ethics complaints, fascinating. And you may be surprised that although I was part of filing the recent one, that I can support this, especially with the frivolous complaints and politically motivated lawsuits. And our ethics process was inconsistent and depended on a costly outside investigator anyway. Being fiscally responsible, I didn't like the cost to the town. Our own attorney has witnessed the blatant unethical behaviors from the dais spelled out in Section 8 and could have dealt with them in-house, in my opinion. A slap on the wrist would have sufficed. The clean sweep solution appeared to be supported by the full council in order to refocus on town business. The town attorney was directed to contact the outside investigator to stop the current process against 2 of you, even though it likely was nearly completed. The 1-year-old Skillicorn sanctions were to be included in the clean sweep agreement, but a couple of you were not happy about that part and seemed to want their cake and eat it too, meaning stop the complaints against us, but don't remove Skillicorn sanctions. That's apples and oranges. If backpedaling is going to be attempted at the April 15th meeting, it seems that calling off the investigator may have prematurely interrupted the process. Hopefully they stick to the agreement. I can accept wiping them out in the name of free speech, even without applying vindictive sanctions. That same grace was not given to Councilman Skillicorn, but going forward, I fully expect this council to be accountable and correct any lies spoken from that dais about each other or members of the public. And with regards to the March 18th veteran presentation, that was indeed an embarrassing lack of respect and optics demonstrated by a council member who chose not to remain standing with the other council members and the audience for the duration. Briefly sitting, more like briefly standing. It was witnessed by all who were present. To those who weren't in the room that night, such as the one that just commented, you have no firsthand knowledge of what went on, and you can't see it on the video. You know what you can see on the video, though? A 92-year-old veteran who was honored to receive such an award, who physically struggled to get out of his wheelchair with assistance from others in order to stand and remain standing for the entire 7-minute period. And that tells you everything you need to know.
Is that it, Town Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to consent agenda items. If nobody has any issue with that, can I get a motion?
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Skillicorn,
Yes.
Councilmember McMahon,
Aye.
Councilmember Watts,
Aye.
Councilmember Earl,
Aye.
Councilmember Calavianakis,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Toth,
Aye.
and Mayor Friedel.
Aye.
Mayor 7-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to our regular agenda. And item A is consideration and possible action and approval for recommendations and appointments for members of the town's board, commissions, and committees. So I'm going to make a motion to approve Nick Proctor for a term of from April 2nd, 2025 to April 30th, 2026. And then I'm going to need a motion and a vote on the next, actually all of them. The next one is to reappoint Dan Kovacevic to Planning and Zoning for a term of May 1st, 2025 to April 30th, 2028, and also Clayton Corey and then Phil Sveum. Can I get a motion on those, please?
So moved. Sorry.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Earl,
Aye.
Councilmember Skillicorn. Yes. Councilmember McMahon,
Aye.
Councilmember Calavianakis,
Aye.
Councilmember Watts,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Toth,
Aye.
and Mayor Friedel.
And I'd like to explain my vote. I want to thank all these individuals who are stepping forward to serve on our Planning and Zoning Commission. Thanks for your time and your effort, and it's a lot of work, so we appreciate that. And I'm aye. Thank you. Okay, and now we have a consideration of a T-Mobile hometown grant. Rachel?
Mayor and Council, this is an item that was actually removed from the last agenda and directed to be replaced this evening. Director Snipes is going to do a brief overview of the application, and then we'll take any comments or questions.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a T-Mobile hometown grant that we're discussing. It maxes at $50,000, and that's the amount we would like to ask for. There is no match by the town, and what we're looking to do with the funding is to put dark sky compliant lighting on the new Centennial Pavilion shade structure. We've talked about that for a capital improvement project. We talked about the need for lighting over there. The dark sky event is another example, other than this one here, which is the Oktoberfest, of where they had to add extra lighting to make that functional at nighttime. As I said, this is a zero town match. We'll just be responsible for getting the permitting set up and selecting the lighting that we're looking at using. This is a once a quarter grant that they're doing for a total of $25 million. And it's all set up for small towns like ours. With that, I'll take any questions on this one.
Councilwoman McMahon?
Thank you. If you notice, the date said it expired yesterday, so is there a new round for this to
Correct.
be
So
selected?
Yeah, so it happens once a quarter, and so we just missed the last one.
Okay.
We were trying to get it on that one, but now we'll go for the next one.
Okay, and thank you. And I'd like to move to authorize the application as stated in the agenda item.
Do we have any speaker cards on this? Yeah.
Yes, Mayor, we do.
Okay.
We received 41 online speaker cards. 4 wanted to indicate that they were for this item. There were 36 that were against, and we have 3 speaker cards,
Okay.
starting with Virginia O'Brien.
We'll get you.
Good evening. Town Council, Mayor Friedel, staff, My name is Virginia O'Brien, and I have been a Fountain Hills resident for 24 years. My neighbors and I oppose Fountain Hills town government applying for $50,000 in grant monies from Telecommunications Corporation T-Mobile for, and I quote, lighting, site furnishings, banquet tables, and chairs for the Centennial Pavilion shade structure. For the last 4 months, my neighbors and hundreds of Fountain Hills residents have awaited the scheduling of the public hearing due us by procedure to voice our opposition to the T-Mobile antenna permit. Imagine our shock to learn that instead of the public hearing, we find out that the town now urgently wants to ask for money from T-Mobile to accessorize a pavilion. The town staff, Planning and Zoning Commission, and Town Council are fully aware that T-Mobile wants approval of a special use permit for permission to waive the zoning ordinance so they can erect a 65-foot high multi-antenna fake palm cell tower on residential property at Generation Church on Fountain Hills Boulevard, a tower which is prohibited near our homes under the existing ordinance. Firstly, the ongoing T-Mobile 65-foot high cell tower permit request and the Fountain Hills T-Mobile grant application matters are definitively interrelated. The decision to approve or deny the special use permit lies in the hands of Town Council, and the decision to apply for a $50,000 grant from T-Mobile also lies in the hands of Town Council. As the deciding officials in both matters, you are creating a conflict of interest and the appearance of impropriety, that is, if you decide to seek grant money from T-Mobile. It gets worse. T-Mobile decides if Fountain Hills gets $50,000 in grants. Town Council decides if T-Mobile gets a cell tower in our town. Again, the deciding parties in these interrelated matters are the same, and both parties could stand to benefit from each other. By its very definition, this situation would be an instance of quid pro quo. My neighbors and supporters, who I'd like to stand right now, if you would, secondly, this grant application has denied us, Fountain Hills residents, our opportunity to communicate the reasons for our opposition to the T-Mobile tower before we were forced to be here tonight and speak about this. Again, the town is fully aware of the ongoing T-Mobile tower permit ask, yet now this seemingly urgent pursuit of gift money from the very exact company whose request we oppose has been prioritized and fast-tracked over hearing from the hundreds of concerned constituents who have signed petitions opposing the T-Mobile tower. Tonight, we ask Town Council to do the right thing. Let's avoid public perception of impropriety, conflict of interest, quid pro quo.
Time is up.
Please respect the voices of your constituents, and in doing so, deny approval of the T-Mobile grant application.
Time is up.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, the next speaker is Larry Myers, followed by Lori Troller.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Well, that was rather detailed. First, I'd like to say that I really appreciate grants that have no match, and especially grants that aren't for studies, because they're more useful than studying something you can't afford. However, I think town management should have told this particular employee to go find his money somewhere else in the current time period. And that would be because, A, Planning and Zoning has already recommended denial of the increased height of the flagpole, which is rather innocuous at the church, which is zoned residential. It hasn't come before you yet, so how will you decide that? I think that it's somewhat similar to taking a campaign contribution in an election year from a service provider whose contract is up. Same thing to me. You're asking money from a service provider while you're judging them, or why you're going to judge whether they get approval of a variance, if you want to call it that, to do something that they want to do. And that's just one instance. What else might they want? I think asking for it isn't the problem. It's if T-Mobile says, yeah, we're going to give you the money. Now, how do you look? Look yourselves in the mirror and ask yourselves, how will you look? When all of this, we have a councilman working on updating our wireless ordinance. You're going to have to decide something on that. That's in the process. The church's 65-foot antenna array upgrade is in the process. I don't think it's fair to T-Mobile either. Why should we ask them for money and then maybe you'll decide not to give them what they're asking for based on the hearing from the residents? I don't think it's fair all the way around. So I personally would recommend and hope that you would just not even bother to apply for this, seek the $50,000 from somewhere else, wait till all of this wireless stuff is settled, and then ask for the money. After that, there's no harm, no foul. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Lori Troller. At the risk of being repetitive, but pretty much everybody I talk to feels the same way on this, so we're all coming up with the same verbiage, so here we go. So, like Larry said, T-Mobile currently has a controversial application with the town. And it's controversial because the application's asking for an exception to be given to them to violate our current law. The application is in mid-process. It's between P&Z, who denied the application, and the council. You guys haven't seen it yet. So number two, this town is still in the process of rewriting the ordinance that governs T-Mobile and the other telecommunication companies in the town, and you want to take grant money from the company we're doing this to in the middle of that process. You've got over 200 angry residents that want to make sure you're signing with one hand their fight on behalf to keep T-Mobile out of their residential properties, while you're taking money from the same company with the other hand. And when you read the verbiage of this grant, it's unlike other grants. There's no noble requirements. There's no requirement to lower pollution or fund the vets or anything like that. It's basically money without requirements. So T-Mobile puts this money out there because they know their infrastructure harms public safety. And it's akin to a predator driving past a school with candy. There is a smart and ethical thing to do here. So pick any other grant. And if you have to, set the agenda to continuance and bring it back when Kevin or whoever finds a grant that isn't coming from a company that has an application in with the town. Also, if you didn't know, Kevin wants these monies to light up Centennial Circle. Like he said and like he showed. When did the plans for Centennial Circle ever turn into a lit structure in the middle of our dark sky center? So, what you'll vote on when T-Mobile, what are you going to vote? What are you going to vote when T-Mobile wants to put an antenna on the top of that really cool picture that Kevin had? Wait till they want to put an antenna up there, right on the structure you just guys took the money to light up. Avoid the appearance of improper. Thank you. And take the chance to have some strength and show some ethical character so we can go forward and say, yeah, this town didn't take that money. We're doing fine without it. Thank you.
Would you please?
any other speakers?
No, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman McMahon?
Thank you, I appreciate it. Kevin, and maybe Aaron, this is a grant through, in partnership with Main Street America. It really has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not there's a planning and zoning issue. If there is a request, it's completely two different things, correct?
Correct.
Right. It's not like somebody who is applying, Cox, who is applying for the SUP has anything to do with this. It's to me, it seems like very neutral. I don't personally see a conflict of interest. I think that this is lighting. It's in compliance with dark sky specifically. So I don't see a conflict of interest in this. So I'm for it.
Councilwoman Earl?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple questions. I know at one point the T-Mobile Palm Tower was on the agenda and it was pulled. Is there a reason for that, and what are we waiting for on that? Who?
I'm going to ask John to actually chime in on that.
Okay.
He can probably share a little more detail about the process between P&Z and then to council.
I think the applicant pulled.
Mayor and council, yes, there was an application over at Ironwood and Fountain Hills Boulevard for replacement of an existing flagpole cell tower to a palm tree cell tower to be taller. After the P&Z hearing where they recommend denial, the applicant asked to put that on hold while they, while they study their options there and regroup and decide if they want to move it forward or not. We have not heard any more from them since that time.
Okay, so I still have a little more, if you don't mind. I just want to say to everybody, as I said earlier, and people that may not know me, but you will learn, if you know me, you know I'm honest and true to my word. I was a no on that palm tree. If that comes back, I will be a no. Just trust me, I will be a no. But I also see our town needs money. We're struggling. Well, not struggling, we're doing well, but we'd like to get things done without taking money, things away from other projects, like getting roads done. When we have the opportunity to get $50,000, I'm gonna be a yes on this, but I will be a no on them doing any palm tree. I feel that is my strength and ethical character, that I can say, you wanna give us money, go ahead. Doesn't mean that I'm going to say yes to anything that they want in that sense. Thank you.
Councilman Watts?
Kevin, has this lighting plan been reviewed by the dark sky people?
Yeah, we met with them when we first started, and we're working with several dark sky lighting experts.
So I assume from that no spillage of light
Correct.
out from underneath that structure.
Correct.
And just for the record, I've read the application in detail. I've read the 92 pages that T-Mobile puts out that talks about what their programs are, and there is in that 92 pages a reference to DEI. But there is no connection on the application to what it can be used for other than the specifics of what we've applied for, which is lighting, table, furnishings, et cetera. There's no quid pro quo. It doesn't exist. Now, to say that we're going to be unethical to accept their money, maybe T-Mobile is not real smart in offering the money. Because if somebody's handing me money knowing that I'm going to be against that tower on Generation Church in the present format, well, I would say at least we should apply for the $50,000. We've got it in the CIP, but why would we want to spend the money when we can get it for free? So if that's being unethical and taking advantage of a multinational billion-dollar corporation, I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to be a yes for it and a no, just for the record, for the tower on Ironwood. Thank you.
Councilman Skillicorn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as I recall, I think planning and zoning did decide that we should not go ahead with that additional tower. And I see two honorable members from planning and zoning here tonight, and thank them for their service. And I trust planning and zoning that will not lead us astray. So I would definitely go along with planning and zoning and oppose any additional tower. But I do wonder, would it be prudent for us to delay this until after we codify what planning and zoning did. Is there any discussion on that? I mean, if I made an amendment to postpone this until after we vote up or down that tower, would that make any difference?
Councilman Watts?
To answer your question, Councilman Skillicorn, it's projected that the ordinances, 16, 17, the combination of, are going to take somewhere between 6 and 8 months. So that might put us even towards the end of the year, maybe even in next year, and it may not be available at that time. I think we should apply now, see where the dice fall. We don't have to take it. So if by some chance we ended up getting the ordinances completed before it was approved, we can turn it down. So I don't see any harm in applying now and seeing what the outcome is. But it's going to take 6 to 8 months to finish the ordinances and the consolidation. That helps answer the question.
May I be more specific, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I think my specific thought was postpone until after we vote up or down the church antenna, not the entire piece. That was my intention. Does that change any thoughts?
May I answer that, Mayor? What John Watts John Watts.
Who's that?
John Wesley, I'm sorry. John Wesley just said to us that the T-Mobile or whatever, they pulled it. So we can't vote on it because they pulled it.
John, do you want to weigh in? Do you have any idea as to whether they're going to bring that application back?
Mayor, council, no, at this point, we have not had any further communication. We have no expectations of when that will come back. Could be next week, it could be next year, maybe never. We don't know.
Councilwoman Kalivianakis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable with this conversation, and I guess since we're all weighing in on the future project, when I ran for this seat, I promised everybody that before they came before this council, I would listen to every applicant and keep my mind open until my vote, and that is still my position today. I find it disheartening that 3 members of this council have already said how they're going to vote on something that has not even been before this council yet. I find that very disconcerting. To say that this grant has anything to do with their proposed replacing a 50-foot flagpole with a 55 or 65-foot palm tree is ludicrous and ridiculous on its face. T-Mobile is a company that employs hundreds of thousands of people, that has nationwide service. They have one little program called Main Street America, where they're offering some grant funding to help small towns of under 50,000 people. Shovel-ready products. A proposal must include plans, budget, timeline, anticipated impact, and letters of support, which I think we've already done. And any elected officials, town managers, employees, tribal leaders, nonprofit community leaders, so even nonprofits can apply for this money, can apply for this application. To think that the engineers that decided that we needed a new tower to replace the existing tower and then contacted the boys at Main Street America and said, hey, let's push through this application and it's going to grease the skids is a ridiculous proposition. And I will vote for this tonight.
Vice Mayor?
Sorry, have to collect myself here. If this were accepting money and then next week I'm voting on something having to do with this company, I would fully be on board with the concerns that have been brought up, and I still do understand them. However, given that this is an application for the grant, which can still be denied by the company, and then on top of that, the project that has been referred to has been paused. If it comes back in the exact same way that it came to P&Z, I would be a no. I'm comfortable in saying that. If they amend it, if they change it where it's fitting to our code, we'll take a look. I'm nervous. I don't like it, but that's for a conversation in the future. I consider it 2 different issues. I'm completely okay with accepting grant money and then still voting according to my conscience on an issue, and I can assure you that no amount of money given to the town would ever affect my vote on a separate council issue.
Councilman Watts.
Just so it's clear, I voted no for the tower on the Generation Church. It would be improper for me to change that vote just because of the $50,000. Whether I state it here or not is irrelevant. I've already made my case, my position clear to the public, and I'm going to retain that. So, concerned or not, I'm still going to vote no for that tower, and I'll vote yes for the $50,000.
And Kevin, this is just an application, so we don't know whether we're going to be approved.
Correct.
And if we are approved and there's something going on, we can always reject the funding, right?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to be on record, I fully support our planning and zoning and have voted, I think, 99.9% of the time with them. So my point is clear on that as well.
Did we get a second?
I made a motion, so
I'll second.
I don't know who seconded. I think Brenda might have. I don't know.
We need a second.
I second the motion.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember McMahon?
Aye.
Councilmember Skelecorn?
Mr. Mayor, permission to explain my vote?
Yes.
So I think I'll probably lean to supporting this. I don't have anything problem with the lights. I don't have a problem with paying for it from a third party. But I do want to say that I respect and honor the wishes of planning and zoning. I want to thank you, Director Wesley, for clarifying that it was pulled by the applicant. So it, in a way, I think this is moot. I do want to appreciate the people for coming to the meeting. I mean, heck, most of the people that usually attend the meetings are staff or relatives of people on council. So the fact that we have 10 people here, I really respect that. Your voice is heard, and I personally will honor your voice when any of those applications come before us. And frankly, I think that planning and zoning is doing a great job representing you guys. So thank you very much for coming, and I vote aye.
Councilmember Earl?
I also want to reiterate, I appreciate all of you residents coming here and hearing your concerns about that tower. I know that I do support you with that. And with that said, I am an aye for going for the grant. Thank you.
Councilmember Calavianakis?
No explanation, just an aye.
Councilmember Watts?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Toth?
Ditto to what they said, so you don't have to hear my voice too much. Aye.
And Mayor Fidel?
And I've made myself clear, too. I'm an aye.
Mayor 7-0.
Okay, now we'll move on to item C. This is the amendment of the Public Art Master Plan. Rachel?
We're going to keep Director Snipes on the hot seat for this next item. This has to do with our public, some updating, particularly our funding rubric for the Public Art Master Plan.
Mayor and Council, it's me again. We'll do this one more time after this. So in a recent point that was brought up in that when the Public Art Fund, the payment's done, it is based on the valuation of the property. We've always used the International Code Council to come up with those valuations. However, recently someone saw that there was a spot that said that you could bring in all your receipts for the cost of construction and show what the cost of construction was and then base it off of that. Happened to be about half of the value that was shown in this. This is updated every 6 months. It's what we've used for every single other building that's been built in the town, and determining the amount that they owe towards the Public Art Fund or that they have to provide the art piece, the sculpture for. And so what we'd like to do is just make it a level playing field to where that everybody's 2,500 square foot building is compared to a 2,500 square foot building, and they both pay the same. So that's what this is for. It just makes it to where that
this is the only way that the value of the property is determined is using this ICC, and therefore everybody ends up paying the same towards the public art fee. With that, I'll take any questions.
Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor, we have one card. Ed Stiza. Cancel.
Thank you. Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-14, the amended Public Art Master Plan and Public Art Guidelines.
I'd like to second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Watts.
Aye.
Councilmember Calavianakis.
Aye.
Councilmember Skillicorn.
Yes.
Councilmember McMahon.
Aye.
Councilmember Earl.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Toth.
Aye.
And Mayor Vidal.
Aye.
Mayor 7-0.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to item D, which is consideration for approval of community center improvements. I guess Kevin's on the hot seat again.
Kevin's going to go third time's the charm here. This item this item has come before a lot of discussion at the staff level, particularly with our finance team, identifying a number of improvements that are necessary, as well as what funding sources we may have available. And this is a result of those conversations that I'll let Kevin bring all the details out.
Certainly. So Mayor and Council, this is round 3. First, we've noticed that we're starting to see more and more issues with our divider walls, the great big tall walls that separate our ballroom into 4 separate rooms. We've had several incidences of them coming off the tracks and having to be replaced. This is critical to the operation of the community center. If it was only one big ballroom, we would certainly lose a lot of revenue and have a lot of really strange events that have 30 people in them and a space set up for 500 people. So what we'd like to do is replace the dividing walls. You can see some pictures of, there's definitely wear and tear on them as well. The biggest thing is their performance. You know, if we're getting over just the way they look, that's one thing. But when they're creating issues of failure, that's another. And it's certainly something that would take us a while to get if we waited until it completely failed to do the purchase. And so doing it before it completely fails, I think, is critical, as well as having to call out vendors over and over again to do similar repairs on the walls that are failing. Another thing that we're looking at is the lights in the lobby and down the hallway. You can see there in the picture, the globe is broken on the light there on the left. The lights in the lobby there on the right, we're looking at replacing 2 of those lights and replacing 3 of those lights with fans. The biggest thing for that is we need air movement out there. If you've ever been in there in the summer, the lobby's the worst place to be, and it's where everybody goes. When you walk in the building, first thing you notice is that you're in a really hot room. And so we're working to correct that by getting some 7-foot fans that'll move a considerable amount of air to help keep that area cooler. Here's a look at some of the dividing walls. We're going to go all one color top to bottom because we think it just darkens up too much. But you'll notice it is a carpet type material that's on them. One of the big complaints that we get in the ballrooms is that they're very echoey, as well as hearing from one ballroom to another the things that are going on. The idea being that this should help with both of those issues and provide a safe way for us to keep those rooms divided and quiet. On the top left, there's some of the lighting that we're looking at. We're still working on pricing on the entirety of the lighting. I was hoping to get that today, but I don't have that back yet. The fans are a very large air-moving, slow spinning fan that will look good as well as keep air movement. And then the final thing there on the bottom right is getting motorized blinds. If you've ever been in the community center in the afternoons, we have a lot of people that go in there and play cards in the lobby. A lot of people that do that every day of the week. And when you go in and you see them physically having to move the tables to hide behind a pillar to block themselves from the sun, or wearing sunglasses while they're sitting in the lobby, and then the amount of heat that comes through those windows because it's the sun shining straight through into the lobby, it just makes it to where that keeping that area cool and usable is very difficult. And so with that, we're looking at a total of $550,000 to do all of this. A large majority of that, of course, being the large divider walls. And with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
Are there any speaker cards, Town Clerk?
Yes, Mayor, we have one. Barry Wolborski.
Once again, I apologize for the muffled voice. I don't know much about moving walls. However, I do know a bit about blinds, ceiling fans, and light fixtures. I have a question. Is the life expectancy of the walls only about 20 years? Seems kind of short to me. That's when they were installed, about 20 years ago. Number two, $50,000 for blinds seems pretty high to me, and $100,000 for ceiling fans and lights seems ridiculous to me. Like most of the rest of you, I've had to replace a few ceiling fans in my home. Now, I know these are bigger, but the cost of me replacing a ceiling fan was about $350, including the electrician. Big difference between that and $100,000. I understand that doing this on a large scale may cost 10 or even 20 times as much, but 100 times as much? That's kind of amazing to me. They were budgeted at $450,000 for this. That seems really generous to me. Now they want to raise that by 22% to $550,000. I think the town has to take a good look at what's necessary and what's not, and at the very worst, stay within their budget. Maybe the town of Fountain Hills needs their own version of Doge, as it seems that spending is out of control. I think the citizens of the country and the town want to end big government and big spending.
Councilwoman Earl.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the same questions as Mr. Borbowski. First, I was going to ask, what is the warranty on those divider walls? And then, okay, good.
So the divider walls have a life expectancy of 25 years, and those are about 26 years old. And so I don't know off the top of my head what the warranty is on that. I'd have to look, but I can certainly get that and get it back to you.
And I've replaced ceiling fans and stuff too, so this does seem astronomically expensive to me. Can you explain why the lights and fans and the blinds would be so expensive?
Sure, it has to do with several different things, one of which is the size of them. Of course, that makes them cost more, but then it also is how they need to mount to hang down as far as they hang. And then the other thing is the connection to the building's control system is another expense. And when you're working at those heights and bringing in extra equipment to do that, that increases. The labor is about half of the cost of doing everything in there.
Is there any way to reduce that cost? Are you expecting it to be that, or are you just trying to cushion it?
Both. I'll always fight
All
to
the
get us
above?
as low as we can get us. But this is where that I think is going to be close to this. But we are working to lower it right now with the company that we're working with. But we are under a tight window to get it done, and so that's where we're trying to get here before all those negotiations have done, so.
Councilman Watts.
Thank you for the presentation, Kevin. Is the diameter of the blades or the individual blades 7 feet?
It's the total width, it will be 7 feet.
The diameter then is 7 feet. And have you taken into consideration the strobe effect you're going to get for the can lights above? And what are you going to do with those?
So it's not so much the can lights that are above that we're concerned about, it was the lights that are going to be hanging next to it, and so we're going to stagger, the fan will be just above where the lights are that are down the center. The can lights are far enough away that they don't think there'll be an issue with the strobing effect. That was certainly something that we talked about with our lighting experts.
I know these style of fans are expensive. They're not your Casablanca fan for $350. So no, they're very expensive, very slow moving, and I didn't understand you were going to integrate it into the existing lighting and control system as well.
Yes.
So there's some cost there. Labor's high. When I first heard about the divider wall issue, my understanding was it was the hardware only. You were going to retain the carcass, the skeleton of the walls.
So this is a total replacement.
I understand it is now. Is there a reason that we can't keep the skeleton of the walls and replace the hardware and then resurface the partition walls themselves?
So they've been resurfaced once already, and they're at an age where getting work done on them is getting tougher, and so by coming in with something that's not 25 years old makes it to where that's a much easier task to do in getting parts.
But couldn't you just replace all the hardware in total?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because if you could, and you could retain the skeleton, the frame itself, then it would seem to me there'd be a whole heck of a lot less than $400,000, maybe half of that. And I think that's something we ought to at least explore before ordering them.
I'll check into it.
The blinds, I don't have as much angst with the blinds because I assume there's going to be a remote panel somewhere that's going to...
Yeah, those will all be...
They're going to be automated as well?
They're motorized, yes, they are.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Kelly Bianakis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, thank you for your presentation, Kevin, as always. My take on this is I think the blinds for the south lobby that's a need to have. To have our users have to move the tables around and stuff. It seems really ridiculous, and so that's when I would have approved 10 years ago. The ceiling lights and the lighting fixtures, once again, they do become dated. If you look at the Fountain Hills Unified School District, at one point I'm sure that lighting was very adequate for the students, but right now it's a joke. And if anybody's gone in the school system, the lighting is a mess. So before we get to that point, I think it's a really good idea to upgrade the lighting with modern standards, and it'd look better, be a much better appearance, and so I'd definitely be for that. My but is that the community center has been very expensive to maintain, as we all know. We had the mold mitigation, we have the roof that's going to have to be repaired soon, and that number is going to be just astronomical. The windows and the deglazing, it's still a work in progress. There's still some windows that are leaking. The grading, which whoever designed that building so the rain flowed towards the building, has been ridiculous. We're having to do a lot of trenching and a lot of retrofitting. And so as I see the other two is kind of need to have going forward, I would really be for the divider wall, maybe in a couple of years from now, after we get a handle on cost containment for the community center. And so if I were going to do a motion, it'd be to approve the community center improvements minus the divider wall at this point, with the expectation it'll come up in the future after we've got cost containment on the repairs done. But thank you.
Vice Mayor Toth.
You said you're on a tight timeline. What is that timeline?
July 1st.
Okay.
It's the end of the fiscal. So we have funding right now in the capital fund to do this project, and so that's the tight schedule.
Got it. And just for the sake of the public, at what point would they be seeing results of the project? Also July 1st? Okay, thank you.
Councilman Skillicord.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Snipes, what was the bidding process for this?
We're using a current companies that the town is currently using that are that have been vetted by the town for other projects throughout the town for the lighting and for the walls.
So, Mr. Mayor, Director, it wasn't bid out to multiple vendors?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Mayor, Director Snipes, is that maybe why we have some questions on what the cost might be? I mean, if it was inflated, we wouldn't know since we haven't bid it out.
Yeah, sure. And like I said, that's something that we can absolutely dive into further. There's not a whole lot of companies out there that do giant divider walls, but there's a few.
Councilwoman McMahon.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Kevin, thank you for your presentation. I've been in the, community center we all have with those walls up, and they're not soundproof. I mean, in fact, you can be having a meeting in there, there could be the chorus or other things and music going on, and it is so distracting because they do not buffer any of the sound. These would be an upgrade, better buffer the sound, correct? In addition, my concern is the safety of the staff, and I've seen and watched them have difficulty moving these back and forth. And they really do, in my opinion, need to be upgraded, at least. So you're saying that this is in the budget already. We have the funds. Correct. It's not going to be in conflict with the improvements, correct? So if for some reason we find to improve this, could we go into this asking that this is the ceiling, the absolute ceiling amount on it, that you, as usual, with your staff, will do your best to work to lower it as best you can, and proceed that way. If anything changes in that, you can come back and give us an update, before July, if that's how long this particular process is going to take. That's what I would ask, if this is approved in moving forward, if you don't mind.
Yeah, the goal is always to come in below, and you know that I've been very successful at that over the years of coming in below where we're maxed out at. This one had a lot of unknowns, and at the time when we were doing this, as well as to today, we're still doing some investigation. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I didn't go, oh, we were this close, but we didn't have enough, and we don't have time to come back to council to ask for more. My hope is 100% to come in well under, but I can't say that I will for sure.
Town manager.
Mayor, if I may, Kevin, I'm going to put you on the spot for a couple of questions that I think might help with the discussion process, if that's okay. So sorry in advance. Based on what you know in your assessment and working with Jen and the staff over there, how many times a day would you say those doors are opened, closed, moved around, that ballroom's manipulated?
That's a great point. Those walls could be changed 3 times a day by staff, depending on what we have going on. There's a lot of times where there's something going on in the morning, then it changes to a bigger setting for midday or a smaller setting for midday, and then the evening having something else come back in. So it's my biggest concern is that something happens catastrophic and we're not able to, we'll have to cancel all the events that are going on in the ballrooms for a period of a few months to be able to get the problem fixed. And knowing that they've come off several times over the last year and had issues with tracking on them, it's just something that it takes a lot to move those now. They're not as lined up as they once were, for sure. And so all of that creates different issues, and like Councilmember McMahon said, they're not the best soundproofing. These would be a lot better than those. Just in those being vinyl wrapped and these being the carpet wrapped, it's really going to help soak up that echoey sound in the one that you're in, as well as the noise coming from the other side. And the way that they lock together helps prevent that sound as well.
Okay, so that was kind of my question. Obviously, the rooms are used multiple ways throughout the day, so it's not a one-and-done kind of situation. Additionally, the timing of this, while there is a bit of a timeline as mentioned by our Vice Mayor, the conversation kind of came to a head when we understood that to do this work will impact the use of those rooms too. So trying to time this during our slowest season, AKA the summer, is beneficial to, again, the use of the space so that we're not displacing anybody or hopefully minimizing that impact. If you had to guesstimate, do you know how much those panels weigh in those doors? I have to assume a lot.
They're not light.
Yes, so if they do come off the track, or there is a point where they are out of commission, it's not something that we can just sort of manually, manipulate and drag them to and fro, so to speak. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Lastly, for Councilmember McMahon, you mentioned having a ceiling. The way this is agendized is a not to exceed, particularly for that exact reason. So thanks for mentioning that. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Kalivianakis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I would kind of just put this in, and it would be nice to have, be a want to have, not a need to have. And agree with Mr. Roborski. I think we have to be a little more fiscally conservative. And so at this point, I'd really just like to make a motion to approve the community center improvements and budget authority transfers minus a divider wall replacement.
Councilman Watts.
How much would we save if they weren't electric and they were manual like the existing ones are?
That's what one of the things that we're looking into right now.
About half price, maybe?
It's about 100,000.
Okay, and you mentioned something about firewalls. Are they firewalls or are they fire rated?
I did not mention firewalls.
I could have sworn you said firewalls.
I'll say firewalls.
Okay,
but I
good.
didn't.
See, you said firewalls, that's good, that's good. Okay, so now fire rated. And it says 2-year warranty on it. Now, I assume that the 2-year warranty is on the structural as well as the electrical operators themselves. But I think I have some heartburn over not having multiple bids. You know, that IGA, I think we have to look at the IGA as, it's nice to have 3 approved bidders, but we got to find a way to get competitive bidders. IGA bidders are not always competitive because they know one another. So it makes it a little bit challenging. But I would look at making the systems manual. I'd look at replacing hardware only, and then I could be a supporter. And going forward with IGA contractors, then I would like to talk about getting third-party contractors as well.
And I am getting both manual and automatic bids coming in.
And you think there's only a $100,000 difference between the two?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll weigh in now. I like the non-electric option, if we can do that. And if we approve this, is there some way, some mechanism that we would know whether you got another bid from somebody else, or replacement parts only, which was brought up, I think, by the councilman? That interests me as well. I like the recovering and the soundproofing aspect of the new ones. So if there's a way we can do that and accomplish everything and save $100,000 or $200,000, I think we need to investigate that. But is there a way to structure this? Conditional approval of some sort?
Mayor, if I may, I apologize. I'm not jumping the line. I just wanted to clarify that if it's approved, or in whatever capacity it may be, it would be considered a CIP. So we would want to update you through the CIP process when we bring back all of our updates on the CIP. So I think that's agendized, I want to say in May. So we can give you an update of where we're at that point, both in timeline, financial, and those types of things. Kevin, we were talking about the difference between the manual and the electric operations, and I know the electric had a couple other hangups for us, and that we were kind of leaning towards that the mechanical or the manual process may be a better fit for us, not just fiscally, but for operational use too. Is that still true? Is that still something we're leaning towards?
Correct. That's certainly something that that as we've gone through the process and seeing that they need some more width in the doors, in the closet that they go into. And so we're still looking into that side to see what that would take. I'm absolutely leaning towards the manual for that reason, as well as then we don't have to pull electric up there. And so it definitely reduces the pricing. The main reason that we started out looking into the motorized was our workforce and their opening and closing those all the time, and the workload that it takes to do that. But it's been leaning towards doing the manual anyway. And so, like I said, I don't have any problem with that. And I think that would be a very acceptable way to get this project done.
So do you have enough time? I know you're under a time constraint.
Yep, we've already got, we've already have the installation crew scheduled to come in I think it's the last week, don't quote me on this, but I think it's the last 2 weeks of June. We've already looked to make sure that we didn't have a whole lot of things scheduled for that time so that we can get them in there and get them out. And the manual ones are much quicker to put in as well, and they're easier to get quicker. For all of those things, I think that would work well.
Councilwoman Earl?
I don't know if it's too soon, but I would like to make a motion to accept this with the manual. But can I somehow put in there that you'd go out for some more bids? Can I put that in the, okay, then that's my motion.
I can't guarantee that other people will respond, but we will absolutely reach out.
Okay,
and see if we can get some.
but that's my motion then.
I'll second that.
Mayor, there's a motion on the prior motion.
No, it didn't get a second. No. Councilwoman Kalivianakis?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would be more comfortable if we were to approve my motion as stated, so we can get the projects for the blinds and the ceiling fans, the green light, and then to bring the divider wall up instead of conditional right now, loosey-goosey. Can't we just bring that up as a separate agenda item in the future, as a standalone?
That would have worked, but you didn't get a second on your motion. So I think we can still move ahead with those other projects while you're investigating the bidding and the manual part of this. Am I correct?
So based on the motion that is currently on the table and seconded, we will take the direction to move forward with the blinds and the lighting and the fans and whatnot, and then reach out for additional quotes based on the door. That being said, I did not hear that we wanted to bring it back for approval again.
I didn't either.
Okay, based on that, we would take that direction to do some more due diligence on the pricing of the door, based on what we can find and best practices, move forward and begin and
That
go
was
with
with
that.
manual.
Yes, on the
Remember
manual side, yes. And get an additional price. Once we get the best price, move forward and complete the project on the timeline, which is before July 1.
And you have time to do that, you said, so. I think we're in good shape. Does everybody understand?
No.
We have a motion and a second, and the motion is to and get some more bids on the manual doors, which is probably at least $100,000 less. Go forward with the lighting, the fans, and the blinds, so we don't have to wait on those.
Yes.
I still have a question.
Okay, Councilman Watts.
So you're still going to get pricing on the blinds and the fans, competitive pricing? You said you only had one from IGA contractors.
Correct. That's what we have.
That's where you're at right now. But if you opened it up to other than IGA contractors and got second and third bids, you won't have time?
Correct.
What are you doing on weekends?
It's not me, it's them not working hard enough.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Councilwoman Earl, did you have something else? No, okay. Councilwoman McMahon?
Thank you. Clarification, please, on the motion. What we're moving forward with is the motion and consent to the amount of money within the parameters that we've all discussed here, so that we can move forward and you can get bids, et cetera, within the budget that's already available for this, correct?
Correct.
I want to make sure about that. Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Calavianakis?
Aye.
Councilmember Mann?
Aye.
Councilmember Skillicorn?
Yes.
Councilmember Earl?
Aye.
Councilmember Watts?
Aye.
And Vice Mayor Toth?
Aye.
And Mayor Friedel?
Aye.
Mayor 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Now I'm done.
Okay, E is consideration possible action and approval of Resolution 2025-06 modifying the Town of Fountain Hills political sign-free zone map established by Resolution 2012-31. Rachel.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a return of an item that was requested by Councilwoman Earl. If you recall, this as was discussed in partnership with the sign code revisions. As a note for the public, this map, the sign-free zone, does not live in the sign code. It is adopted by resolution, so it's two separate items. That's why we're dealing with this one on its own this evening. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Wesley.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Move through this, I think, relatively quickly, then see what questions, comments, directions you want to take with this. So just some background first. ARS allows for the establishment of, well, it allows for political signs to be posted in public rights-of-way 72 days before primary elections, up to 15 days after. These can be up to 16 square feet in residential areas and 32 square feet in other areas. During election times, sign message allowed within those areas is not really regulated. So whatever message somebody wants to put on one of those signs is not a condition of the sign being there. And also want to point out that this does not address any signs placed on private property. The allowance by the state statute is just for signs placed in the right-of-way. So that's what we're going to be looking at this evening. So also in ASRS Section F, it allows cities and towns to designate sign-free areas. So those areas would not then be allowed to have those signs. The town would be in a position to be able to remove signs in those areas. In 2012, the Town Council did approve, following a public hearing, establishment of sign-free zones that met the requirements of the statute. And this is the map that was adopted at that time, the map that we've been using over the last number of years during election periods. The areas in red are the sign-free areas, places where the signs cannot go in the public right-of-way. At the February 18th council meeting, council directed staff to consider reductions in the area to be included in the map. Following that, Councilwoman Earl did provide staff with her idea of what the area should be that be included in the sign-free zone, and that's depicted here in map 1. Staff use that as a place to start and look at the options that we may have. We appreciate Councilwoman Earl taking the time to put together her idea, so we have that to work from. But it is a council decision, and also the public may want to weigh in. So to help discussion with the options that may be available, we put together 2 other examples of what we could include, and be consistent with state statute, and move between what we have now and the map provided by Councilwoman Earl. And so here's map 2 that adds in the main streets that come off of Shea Boulevard into the town center area, Palisades, Fountain Hills Boulevard, and Saguaro. And then map 3 adds a few more streets going out up at Darrell Canyon, over to Golden Eagle Park, and a few other golf courses, again, main tourist areas that we have in town. So this evening, we're looking for input and direction from council and what the map that gets attached to the resolution should actually be. We could retain the current map. We could choose one of the other options that I showed this evening, or you can come up with a totally different option as you discuss it and hear from the public and decide what streets really should be a part of that sign-free zone. And so again, just so you have it in one place in front of you, so you have your discussion. Here's all 4 of the options going from the existing to the in-betweens. Any questions you have for me at this time?
Town Clerk, do we have any speaker cards on this?
Yes, Mayor, we have one speaker card. We did receive a total of 7 online cards. There were 6, and against there was 1. Crystal Kavanaugh?
So just briefly, I wasn't planning to speak on this, but I figured there'd be some question I had. So if you go with map 1, that would just eliminate Shea between the start of the reservation into Scottsdale city limits, and then it would just be the big rectangle around the park, circling all the way to Fountain Hills Boulevard? And then does that cut back up at El Lago, or where's, I'm a little unclear about the area there. So to me, my thoughts are obviously eliminate everything all around the lake, down Palisades, and if you want to go all the way to Fountain Hills Boulevard, fine. Cut over to El Lago, go all the way back up to Saguaro and all the way around. I don't really care about the rest of Fountain Hills Boulevard and all those other areas. I don't actually care about Shea because it's already totally junked up at the corner where the reservation is. And then we all cross over into Scottsdale city limits, including our past council and our past mayor and everybody who made all these rules, but we still had signs right over the border. So to me, the biggest protected area should be our downtown area, which is the lake, Palisades, Fountain Hills Boulevard, El Lago, back up to Saguaro. And I just want it easy. That's the biggest, problem we all had. How many feet off of this and how many feet off of that? And then how far can we go on this road and not that road? Just make it easy. That's all I request.
Councilman Skillicorn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve 9E and specifically map 1.
I second it.
I got a question.
I think I have Vice Mayor Toth.
I just had a question real quick, Aaron, if I'm allowed to put you on the spot. Senator Kavanaugh had mentioned the bill that this is referring to that allows us to draw a sign-free zone. And there's something where it needs to be like connected areas. I just want to make sure we're above board on that.
Mayor and Council, great question. We're looking at ARS 161019, subsection F, and it does say that the sign has, whatever zones you designate, it can't exceed in total 3 square miles and so on and so forth. And then it says they have to be contiguous, but you can have a maximum of 2 zones. So as long as you've got the one and then the other, you're square. Yep.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to be extra sure. And then now if I could put Director Wesley on the hot seat. One difference that I'm noticing is in the existing map, Fountain Park is colored in. I don't mean to be ticky-tacky, but I just want to make sure I'm not accidentally approving something different for Fountain Park.
Mayor and Vice Mayor, I wasn't surprised about getting that question, and so very, very observant of you. So just to point it out here, so you see around the park colored in over here, and none of the others. Do we see that same thing up here for McDowell Mountain Park? I don't really know why they included the park areas before, because the statute's very clear that the sign are allowed in the public right-of-way, and so they aren't allowed around the park anyway. That's why we didn't color them in on these other maps.
Got it. Okay. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Councilwoman Earl? Okay. Councilman Watts?
In the spirit of continuity or contiguity, Eagle Mountain, Summer Hill, and Fountain Hills Boulevard don't look like they're continuous. They look like they are arterial. On 1, I'm sorry, yeah, on 1, right.
Mayor and Council, I'll read the statute and you draw your own conclusion. And I'm actually not agreeing or disagreeing. It's just a question of interpretation. The statute says the total area of those zones shall not be larger than 3 square miles, and each zone shall be identified as a specific contiguous area where by resolution of the municipal governing body, so on and so forth.
Well, then I would ask that we amend, who made the motion? I forget. You did? No, he did. Alan did? Yeah. That we amend it by eliminating Eagle Mountain and Fountain Hills Boulevard and just identify the area around Palisades, El Lago, around the park, and back up to Fountain Hills Boulevard, as well as Shea as it's eliminated.
Councilman Skillicorn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That suggestion sounds workable, but my one question is, if we're trying to make it one area, how are you connecting the downtown area to Shea? Or did you?
We're not. You can identify 2 areas. Each of those 2 areas must be contiguous. Does that make sense? So like, you can't have any breaks. Along Shea, you can't have any breaks. And then along the downtown, you can't have any breaks. But you can identify 2 areas. In fairness, the statute is not the best worded.
Mr. Mayor, is there a break, and Mr. Watts, is there a break on Shea that?
No.
Because it looks continuous to me.
Shea looks continuous, but the arterial streets, Eagle Mountain, Summer Hill, and Fountain Hills Boulevard, where those little fingers come off, I think we should exclude those fingers and look solely at Shea as being the contiguous path. And I think that would make, from the sake of simplicity, that would make it much easier rather than we've got a couple of little areas in addition to Shea.
So, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Watts, I'm definitely agreeable to that. I'm not sure if Councilwoman Earl, who seconded the motion, will be agreeable, but that makes it's clear. And just so everyone else in the dais knows that that would be amending the motion, which I'm agreeable to amending the motion to just having Shea, not having that stub of Fountain Hills Boulevard and Eagle Mountain. I'm agreeable to that.
Councilwoman Earl?
The reason, like on the Fountain Hills Boulevard, I was trying to make it a little not so congested at the corner, if you couldn't have it on Shea and just up to the fire station, trying to help with the entrance there. And I wasn't sure on Eagle Mountain if that's I'm confused if that's an HOA or not, if that's part of the HOA, or because, does someone know down the road here? Is it part of the HOA? It doesn't matter? I'm asking Peggy. Do you know?
That's a public street, right, Summerhill?
Oh, it is a public street?
Up
Oh,
to,
okay.
up to where the gate is. There's,
Okay.
there,
It is? Oh, okay.
Justin knows that answer, but
Okay.
right where the end of the medium is, right before the gate,
Okay.
you'll see the pavement changes, and that's, from that pavement forward is HOA. From Summerhill up to, is public property.
Because I know the HOA's doing all these repairs and the median and all that kind of stuff.
It's not. That's a public street.
Okay, but I mean, they do, okay, that's good.
Do you understand? Summerhill, and then you come down, like to where we're in our neighborhood, that street's public up but to where the guard gate is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, sure, if you want to amend that, Alan, that's fine.
I have amended it.
I'll second that, yeah.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Calavianakis?
Aye.
Councilmember Watts?
Aye.
Councilmember Earl?
Aye.
Councilmember McMahon?
Nay.
Councilmember Skillicorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Toth?
Aye.
And Mayor Fidel?
Aye.
Mayor 6-1.
Thank you. Okay, there was no legislative meeting this week, but does anybody have anything they want to bring up? We'll move on then to council discussion and direction to the town manager. Councilwoman Earl.
Yes, on purpose. Thanks. Thank you, Mayor. I respectfully request that an executive session be scheduled for our upcoming council meeting on April 15th to conduct a performance and/or financial review of the town's contract with the law firm Pierce Coleman. I would like the opportunity to present my findings and discuss them in a closed session to facilitate a thorough and candid conversation. Additionally, please include a corresponding agenda item for the regular council meeting that day in case any actions needed to be taken based on the discussion. And I guess I need a first and a second, or second and third.
I'll third it.
Okay, so we have a first request and then seconded by Alan and third by Hannah, Vice Mayor. Okay. And then I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that the last meeting we had, there was a question about an outstanding balance that was owed by Reclaim Our Town, and the town manager sent us an email that they did take care of that outstanding debt within, I think, 10 days of the date of the invoice that they were sent. So I think everybody can clear their calendar on that one. So that's good that, that you collected that. Thank you. Anything else from anybody? Any future, well, we have the future agenda item. Can I get a motion for adjournment then, if that's it? Second, please.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.